Everybody, welcome in on a Wednesday, along with Jim Scarcelli, the former Wolverine. I'm Dennis Fithian. Picture a perfect day in the state of Michigan and a great time to talk with former Michigan football player Jim Scarcelli, who joins us, and he's on the screen. Scar, great to see you. What's going on?
I'm ready for football, Danny. This USFL, XFL. I'm just not feeling it. I'm ready for college football. I know we're a little ways away, but I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm ready too. Football, it makes you appreciate it. I've said this a million times. I go back previous to these last 2 years, and the time was like ticking down. It's like, oh man, this is taking forever. But with Michigan having had the success that they've had in the last 2 years, I'm enjoying the off season. It seems to be going pretty fast for me. The only thing where it went fast that can help you out is if you're a baseball fan and your baseball team is good. When the Tigers were good for about at least interesting for about a 9-year stretch in there, it made the summer awesome. And they're not any good.
Yeah, it's rough for Michigan folks. Hockey, basketball, baseball, just not really happening at the pro level. But we got a lot of good stuff going on with recruiting. We're bringing players in. We're going to talk about some hopefully interesting stuff today, and we're rolling.
Hopefully, yeah, we're going to be talking about some interesting stuff. We'll get your thoughts on that schedule that Michigan has for not this upcoming season. We are going to talk about that schedule, the back half of it, but we're going to talk about next year's schedule. Scar's already talking about recruiting. We also have to get Scar's opinion on Michigan Power that was debuted and broke out this week. We'll talk about the Michigan-Maryland game, kind of preview the Terps. Michigan will, as everybody knows, be playing Maryland in their last road game of the year, their penultimate game. But we'll start ranking those last 6 games of the year. You might think the first 6 games, Scar, are easy. I don't know what you think, but these last 6, there's some real challenges when you take a look at it. How did you rank them? I don't know where you're at with them. I know I've talked about which 3 I think are the toughest. I think we're going to be lined up here in agreement.
I'll start what I think is the easiest. We got Indiana at home. Indiana is a well-coached team. I think it's the toughest job in the Big Ten. I've talked about it. He's got to recruit against Purdue. He's got to recruit against Indiana. They just don't have the athletes. They're well-coached. We got them at home. That's the one, I got it as the easiest one we should win. So that's number 6. Purdue at home. Now, the guy was a great defensive coach for Illinois, and they did a great job defensively. He's now the head coach at Purdue. Walters is his name, right?
Yeah.
Then he's a hell of a defensive coach. Jeff Brom was the most difficult offensive coach to coach in the Big Ten, coach against, and he's gone, and I'm glad he's gone. He was a great quarterback coach. I don't know what kind of, he brought in Walters brought in a pretty good quarterback coach and offensive coordinator. It's going to be out of that spread mold, Texas Tech type of deal. I don't know how well they're going to do on offense. I don't know if they have the athletes. We got them at home. So I got them as the fifth easiest game. Now, the next 4 are all brutal as far as I'm concerned. And it's a hard time stacking them up. Okay. But going to Maryland, I got it number 4, is going to be a tough game. They got one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Leah is good. He's athletic. He's capable of at times playing like the best quarterback in the country. And I'm going to cover Maryland in more detail. Coach Loxley is doing a good job. He's getting players. He's doing a good job. That's the 4th toughest game I got. Danny, what are your thoughts so far on my 4, 5, and 6? Maryland at 4, Purdue at 5, Indiana as the easiest of the last 6 games.
Yeah, we're not in lockstep. Ryan Walters is the 37-year-old coach there at Illinois, or the Purdue, the former defensive coordinator at Illinois. I think Maryland's going to be more difficult than Michigan State this year. I know it's a rivalry game, but I think Michigan State, I know that, it's hotly contested. Everybody hates one another and everything, but I just think Maryland's going to be more difficult than MSU this year. That's me.
Well, here's the deal about MSU, and I got them as the third toughest game. I just think going on grass for the first time, it's different. It's a little bit of an issue, okay? The place is loud and tough. It's loud and nasty to play. It's a big rival game. The thing that the Michigan State game, what Michigan State can afford to do against us, which Maryland won't. Michigan State will work all spring on Michigan. They will have plays, trick plays that they won't run all year until the Wolverines come in town. So they will gear a lot of their things, and I think our defense is the one that's kind of at the disadvantage from that standpoint, is because Michigan State can afford to just say, we got to beat Michigan. He can go 5-7 if he beats Michigan. They're happy over there. So I got them at number 3. Now, they don't have as much talent as Penn State and Ohio State. I still believe their offense and defensive coordinators are good coaches. I think they're good.
Michigan State, you think they have a good defensive coordinator?
I think those guys are good, Danny. I think the same guys beat us. Tucker's beaten us twice, okay? And we lost last year. So they're not terrible coaches. They don't have the greatest players right now. They lost their quarterback. I'm glad to see they lost their receiver. But I got them as the third toughest game just because it's a heated game, and they will save stuff for us. They will save stuff for the Wolverines that our defense will have not seen. So that's why I got them above Maryland. The second toughest game from a talent standpoint, and also we got to go on the road, is Penn State. Talented team. They recruit right with us. They got 4- and 5-star kids. They're gonna be able to match us athletically. We got to outcoach them. We got to outplay them. But it's not a gimme from a talent standpoint. We got to go on the road. But apparently it's a day game, I think, right? It's not a night game, which I like to see. But that'll be a tough, brutal game. And it's and then the Buckeyes at home. But it's not a lock that the Buckeyes at home are the toughest game, because I think for Ohio State, there's a thing called you like matchups. Okay, as a coach, there's certain teams you go through your schedule. We match up good against them because we can stop them, or we can slow them down, or they're not going to like our offense because that's a bad match. I think Michigan is a bad matchup for Ohio State. They run. That's not. I don't think it's. I think Ryan Day would rather play Michigan running Maryland stuff than the stuff that we run. So we got them home. They're going to have the best talent we face, no question. Great receivers. But we got question marks about their quarterback, Danny. We don't know how good they're got a new quarterback. I think Ryan Day is going to run his quarterbacks more like Urban Meyer did. And I think it's going to be part of predetermined runs. I think he's going to have 2 of them that can play, and he's not going to be afraid to call the predetermined runs. That made him harder to defend. Stroud just sitting back there and not running him like we run JJ on predetermined runs. It's easier for the defense to defend that. So I got Ohio State at 1 with Penn State real close behind, Michigan State because they can afford to save a bunch of stuff for us and gear their whole program toward beating us. We're trying to win a championship because we can't gear everything toward winning one game. They can. All right, Maryland 4, Purdue at 5, Indiana at 6. None of them are easy. None of them are lamb chops. We got to show up mentally right to play all 6 of those last 6 games.
Yeah, I can't argue too much with you putting Michigan State, a rivalry game for all the reasons that you said, in front of Maryland. I almost feel like putting Penn State as the most difficult game. But, the thing about Day is that I don't think the game has passed him by, because, if they wouldn't have made it to the playoff and Michigan was their last game, I would look at him and say, man, I think the game has passed him by. Like, he's just played ultra conservative. He was at home and he had the what would be the number 2 pick in the NFL draft at Stroud, and they had so many shots, 4th and short, 4th and 1, 4th and 2, and he's back there and he's like, let's punt it. I was really shocked. The game now, it's almost a little bit too much of like, gambling on fourth down. Let's go for it anywhere on the field. Almost a little bit too much. But Harbaugh's been in front of that curve. He's been on top of that. You see, how it is in the NFL right now, but it's like, Day's playing a game offensively, and that's supposed to be his calling card from 10 years ago with the way he's calling and the way he's trying to protect the ball and everything else. But, he did come back, and they were really good against Georgia, and they were a shank away from probably winning the
They scored a lot of points against Georgia, Denny. We defended them better than Georgia did. We gave our I think we did. They scored a bunch of points against that Georgia defense. And I just think our coaches do a good job of getting our team and our players ready for that game. We give them problems. And, I feel our players definitely are feeling confident about they're going to feel confident about this whole schedule. We develop depth in those early games, play a lot of guys because you're going to have guys get banged up. And just do what we did last year.
Before we talk about next year's schedule, let's take some of the feedback on that back half of the schedule this upcoming year. Victor says the only part of MSU's team that gave us trouble last year was Keon Coleman. I think if we go in with a proper focus and not overlook them, we will roll. Victor talking about the MSU game. Here's Antoine. He says Ohio State's quarterback ain't that good. And the offensive line is going to struggle. OSU might even run the ball more this year or at least try.
Yeah, Ohio State, you look at their ability to run the football. They got these big, huge, athletic offensive linemen that are great pass protectors. But I think Michigan's guys are better run blockers. I think we emphasize it more. We spend more time on it. And, it's a different mentality. And as far as that Michigan State question, I'm glad Coleman's gone, man. He was a big part of what they had. But the Jay Johnson has given us trouble. They scored 30, a lot of points on us over there 2 years ago. And he gave us a lot of schematic problems. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't that the guy just, he lines up and he's vanilla. He ain't vanilla. I look at it from a defensive standpoint. The guy gives you some problems.
Scar Jason says, any thoughts on the 24 schedule? If we're winning it all, this has to be our year. If key players leave, next year is going to be really tough road with who we play. Well, he's talking about not the 23 schedule, this upcoming schedule, but the one with USC and UCLA when they join in 24. And as everybody knows by now, Michigan will be heading to LA Memorial Coliseum to take on the Trojans. And then they're at Ohio State, Wisconsin in there, UCLA. Michigan will bring, they'll play both of the new members next year. There's the little brown jug, Michigan State at Illinois. There's a lamb chop for you. Oh yeah, Texas is going to be there. And then Fresno. Scar, when you looked at this schedule and then the addition of USC and UCLA, what were your thoughts?
Okay, so I took a real close look at the Big Ten schedule and how they're trying to schedule it, how they're trying to create some fairness, and there's a lot of objectives they're trying to accomplish. Okay, and a lot of it makes good sense, and I applaud them for a lot of things. Number one, as a player, they're trying to get these kids, at least in a 4-year career, at least one opportunity to go to every stadium in the Big Ten. That's great. That's good for the fans. That's good for the players to go and play at all these different cities. That's good. Okay. What I don't like, Denny, is you only really have one champion. You're going to have 16 teams. I just know it's important and at any level to be able to have a champion or be able to say you were a champion. At least now we have an East Division champion, a West Division champion. Guys can claim that. And then obviously the Big Ten championship. We're no longer going to have another. It's only one team that out of 16 that can say they're a champion. So I don't really like that. That's that. But Denny, okay, so I'm going to get into this, how they figured out who are the rivals, etc. Obviously, Michigan and Ohio State, in my opinion, are at a disadvantage because their rivals are the two best teams you look at over the last 60 years. Okay, there's USC we could put in that same batch as Michigan and Ohio State. I'm not going to look at just 5 years, 10 years, but if you look at the last 50, 60 years, Michigan, Ohio State, and USC, those are the toughest teams. So, we end the year with them. So it's obvious it is a rival. So we got to play them. But here's the thing I'm concerned with, Denny. I looked at Nebraska's schedule in 2 years. Okay, in 24. You know who Nebraska does not play?
Michigan, Ohio State.
They don't play Michigan, they don't play Ohio State, and they don't play USC. Okay, so if our objective is to get the best team to win a Big Ten championship, we want the best team to represent and be able to say they were Big Ten champions. We want the best teams to go on to the college football playoff and represent the Big Ten. Okay, so let's just say Nebraska has 3 lamb chops. They beat UAB. Maybe they get Colorado. I don't know who their non-league games are. And then they go through that schedule. They might go 11-1. You never know how quick Rule can get it going. And let's say Michigan struggles against Texas, and maybe we're a 10-2 team, and they're an 11-1 team, and they play. So you have an inferior Nebraska team who didn't play tough games, who could be playing for the Big Ten championship. You got a Michigan team who had to play Ohio State, had to play USC. And now you got maybe a Nebraska team playing for the Big Ten championship. And then maybe even that Nebraska team representing the Big Ten in the college football playoff. You got a better Michigan team sitting home. And that kind of deal bothers me. If I want to know what the formula is, that the Michigans and Ohio States, because Denny, I faced this same stuff as a high school coach. You start to win, you play all these tougher teams, then it's harder to win a championship. It's harder to make the state playoffs, and you're putting poor teams from your league into the state playoffs. They get their butt kicked in the first round. You follow me? And you got better teams that were moved up a division, and they're not even making the playoffs. So that's one of my concerns is that, the scheduling, again, we're talking about Nebraska. Nebraska's got a huge advantage over building his program over someone like Wisconsin or, someone who's trying to build their program who doesn't get those tough games. So that's a big advantage in recruiting and trying to build your program and getting what Michigan has right now, which we call cultural momentum. If you think if you don't think there's a coincidence between Michigan winning and being able to recruit like crazy, like we are, you're crazy. So that's why the scheduling is huge to get that momentum. So then you can start winning and start getting recruits.
Yeah, well, you make a lot of good points. I think that when you take a look at where college football is going, it used to be, you didn't have any, you just had the bowl games that you were locked in, and then you just had the BCS, and then you had the Final Four. They're opening it way up now where, if Michigan loses 2, even 3 games, they're going to still have a chance possibly to get in.
Yeah, that's that word, possibly. I don't want possibly. I don't want Nebraska at 11-1.
Let me tell you this, Gar. There's only 3 or 4 other teams in all its college football that would not trade a spot with Michigan. Michigan has an advantage everywhere. They have it in recruiting, facilities, education, NLI. Go down the list everywhere. It's like Michigan has an advantage of exponential proportions over everybody. Nebraska's saying, cry me a river. Like, you'll get a chance. If you only lose 2 games, Michigan's going to play a tougher schedule. Bring it on. You're Michigan, and you're going to get 12 games. You're getting more than double of the games that you had before. If you were just locked in and it was one Big Ten, I'd say, you know what? Let's start ducking everybody. Let's cry about, Michigan boo-hoo. They got to play Ohio State. I'm not doing any of that. There's 12 teams now. This is great for college football. It's the way the game should be going. I'm so glad that Michigan's playing Texas. I don't want to hear anything about anybody like, I want to buy out of those games. Oh, this is too tough for Michigan. Nonsense. This is great for Michigan.
Oh, no, Danny, I'm not questioning playing one tough non-league game. I think that's great. I don't know what the thinking was, why we had, lamb chops for the last couple of years. But anyway, I'm totally for it. I know as a player, that's good to have one good, tough one. And obviously as a coach, he likes to have a couple games we should win to play a lot of guys. So I'm not questioning playing a good, tough non-league game. I'm just concerned that if you have a team that's not playing the kind of Big Ten schedule Michigan's playing, that our guys are left out because maybe we struggle. Maybe it could be an Ohio State team that had had one loss and lost the non-league game, and now they're not in, and you got an inferior Wisconsin team or an inferior UCLA team that didn't have to make all these tough play all these tough games.
Yeah, the AJ making the point that USC doesn't play defense. USC's like, their game isn't going to translate to the Big Ten. They can't.
Yeah, they're recruiting, man. He's recruiting good players.
They're soft. They're the softest team that I've ever seen. Michigan will beat USC by 30 points next year. They're not going to be able to stop Michigan.
He's got a foundation to recruit in, though, man. That he's going to, and the guy's winning and he's recruiting. You look at all the big
it's a mirage, all on offense. They can't play defensive lick. They can't stop anybody. They can't tackle, Scar. You must have watched them play Utah.
Yeah,
I've never seen a team at almost any level be scared on defense or play the patty cake type defense.
But how was he at Oklahoma, Danny?
Yeah, terrible.
Yeah.
Their defense was terrible.
Yeah, I hope you're right. But the guy is getting players. He's got, he's got a pretty good coaching staff there. And, that's a team that is definitely going to have players. It's not going to be like playing Indiana athletically.
I think this is the shift that you're going to have to make. And Trevor McHugh, the senior editor of the Maize and Blue Review, is making it right here. The Big Ten is soon going to mean nothing more than earning a bye with the playoff expansion. Michigan would still get into the playoffs at 10-2. Yeah, the Lions, I think the Detroit Lions are going to win the NFC North for the first time since when, Scar? What are we talking about, 95 or 93 or so? It's been a hell of a long time. It's amazing. That's nice, to win the division. And it's nice to win the Big Ten. I know you're talking about it. It'll mean a lot this year if you're winning the Big Ten with the divisions. But after this, the schedule and the no plays and everything else, it's going to be about getting in that 12 team. That's the way it's going. Now we've traded. There's nothing like those September games, those big matchups like the Texas game. But the way that the teams are scheduling, nobody wants to play anybody. They're all playing as super soft as they can. So then they just get into the 4 team. We're trading it off to get great matchups at the end of the year. I like it that Michigan's still playing, and some of the other teams, they're saying, hey, we can afford to lose a game. 1 and we're not out, 2 and you're not out. So I like the way it's going. I think that this is a real positive for college football.
No, I just know as a player and coach, for me, I want to win a Big Ten championship. Okay. I want to win a Big Ten championship. That's damn important. Okay. I want to put another freaking ring on their fingers. They got 2 on there. I got 1. It's important. This college playoff, 12 teams, how many teams, whatever. I want to win a Big Ten championship, and I want our players to have the best opportunity to make that happen. Okay. And I don't want them, to be at a disadvantage. I get it. We're going to have to play the Buckeyes. I don't want to have to beat them twice, but we might have to beat those guys twice. If they roll and we roll, we both go through the schedule. I hope to think that doesn't happen, but I can't emphasize enough, in my opinion, that I want our players to put rings on their fingers because it's important.
Yeah, and I get that, and I certainly appreciate, that mindset. But college football is changing drastically. It's not going to be anything like next year like it's been in the history of college football. And to remain the leaders in best, Scar, you have to adapt. And you can't stay idle. You have to move forward, and you have to look at the landscape and where it's at. And what's going to be important is getting in that 12-teamer. Certainly winning the Big Ten, but hopefully it's not going to come at the expense of, boo-hooing the schedule and everything else. Like, Michigan's in a great spot. Take the spot that you're in and run with it. It reminds me a little bit of you talking about some of these like group of 5, and you're like, oh, they're going to have an advantage now. This is disadvantage because they're going to take 12 plays and they're going to have a running clock. I had somebody that was that went to a group of 5 school. He sent me a DM and he said, tell Scar, if we have a guy that even looks like he could play on the roster, he's transferring to Michigan. There's no way that this is like Michigan has every advantage in the book. Stop crying about, Michigan having any disadvantages. Michigan doesn't have any disadvantages right now. Michigan, it's advantage Michigan.
Yeah, a lot of those advantages are created from winning, but I'm going to end it on this, Denny. Don't remember, you heard it here first. Don't forget that if a team like Nebraska, who doesn't play a tough schedule and goes on and represents the Big Ten and gets their butt kicked and gets embarrassed in the college football playoff and representing the Big Ten, gets slapped around, don't say you didn't hear it. Okay, Scar is saying it now, so lock that in.
All right, I will lock that in. I like it. I like you coming up with the final word. Well, I think people are pretty excited because you had the Josh Henschke running the great deal of being able to get into the Maize and Blue Review, where you get access all summer long, all the way to fall camp by going to michigan.rivals.com. That was great. Seeing a lot of different people over there talking about the den and on the Maize and Blue Review, and it's all day, all night talking about Michigan. If you like recruiting, like you could sit there and you can spend. Your boss probably not going to like it. There's a little, but it's just all day. Wow, what's hot, and it's going on every couple minutes. It's amazing. Get on over there, enjoy the fun. Michigan.rivals.com. It's awesome. It's the place to be. You talked about recruiting a little bit earlier. Recruiting right now and where Michigan's at, like it's like it's off the charts. Exciting. Michigan fans are, teeming with excitement. This past weekend, and in the pictures and the videos and the social media and the commitments and everything, and where Michigan's sitting right now, this sounds a little cliche, but I'm going to say it anyways. It's a great time to be alive with everything that's going on. Let's get to, I want to get your thoughts on this. Jim Harbaugh, there's some of that social media. This is an updated picture of the coach. Michigan introducing Empower. Name, image, and likeness, and more program for the football players. You got the website. It's a brand for life. It's going to assist athletes, and their mission is giving them expanding tools, resources, and experience required to help players flourish throughout their life. Not their days at Michigan, not their football careers, but Scar, their life. What do you make of the new initiative here, Michigan Power?
Hey man, it's about leadership, and Jim is pushing it. And people questioned his philosophy and his theories, and Danny, we really don't know. I'm not the recruit sitting across from the coach to this in the parent like I was 40 years ago to understand all the intricacies of the NIL that Michigan's presenting. But Michigan is right there. We are competing. We have a great package together. Jim is constantly looking at new methods, new approaches, so that Michigan can recruit. And now we're coming out with the Empower. Okay, what does it all mean? I don't know all the intricacies. All I know is we're getting recruits, Danny. Something's there. Okay, something's there. Winning championships, the great education you talked about, 110,000. Okay. Guys in the NFL, guys graduating, NIL, Empower. So whatever's going on there, it's real. The NIL stuff, it's a fact. Because if we weren't, listen, as good as we are doing with winning and academics and all this other stuff, but if we're at the bottom with NIL, we're not getting these kids. We are hitting it on all cylinders. I think right now for Michigan, and that's all about winning and what Michigan has to offer, like you talked about. But, the intricacies of Empower and what it means, I don't know. Maybe we can find out, but it means something. And we're seeing the proof in the pudding with these kids signing up.
Yeah, great answer and very honest answer, Scar. I'm the same way. Like, there's a part of me like you tell me, hey, name for $100 all of the Michigan collectives, and we're like, hey, wait a second, it seems like they got like 5 or 6, and then there's like, hey, this is going to be the monster collective to end all collectives. You're going to have this talent agency, and then you're going to have where you can use it in your taxes. This next one's coming out, this one's endorsed by Harbaugh, and then it was like, oh wait, now there's this one. Like, I don't know either, but I do know that there's one way to go NIL, and it's the Texas A&M way or the Miami way. It's like, hey, here's our yacht, here's a big stack of cash, and Michigan, they just keep trying these different collectives, just keep rolling them out there. And I know that there's a lot of thought and hard work behind the scenes, and I don't know exactly, but they keep working on it, and they keep throwing the sharpest minds at everything that they can to empower the college players so they can take advantage of everything that college football right now has for them. Michigan, they seem like they're on top of it. I think that things look good, like you're saying, and there's no question. It's all you win games. Look at Michigan, these last 2 years, you win games. And then, it's broken the seal. And where Michigan's at with name, image, and likeness, people are willing. Like, yeah, people always like Michigan, but now they're winning. They just want to keep this thing going. And I'm with you. I don't know exactly with Empower and all the different other ones and the new guy that they hired that was going to be, he comes from a business background at Michigan with name, image, and likeness and all these different things. But the recruits do seem to like it. And they've got it going right now. So the things that they are doing.
Yeah, Denny, they just went to Traverse City. They took a bunch of players out there. Those guys all got NIL'd up, man. They didn't, they got treated like kings.
Yeah.
And they come back with a pocket full of money, man. Jim talked about ramen noodles. Did you hear his quote? He said, man, I remember those days, man. Macaroni and cheese. We used to get our little check at the end, and when you got out of the dorm, sometimes you ain't eating steak every day. You gotta make do, man. And Jim talked about ramen noodles. Maybe that was something that his program was.
Yeah, I lived on those things. I saw a picture today of Zach Zinter. He was on Instagram, and he was laying on this king size bed, and he must have a size 20 foot. He was barefoot on this king size bed. And he was like, "Yeah, use the promo code." He's selling beds, selling mattresses. He was laying back there, and I was like, man, that's a bed fit for a king. It was a king size bed, but yeah, I love seeing it there. There's so much money in college football. I know a lot of people are like, oh, this is killing the game. Like, there's billions of dollars, man. Michigan's making billions. The coaches are making millions. I mean, it is, I have to spend thousands, for my, to get them on TV. This is part of it where, you can complain a little bit about, how much you're spending, but there's a ton of money. There's nothing hot. Football is king. Pro football and college football, man, it is. High school football, I mean, it is. It used to be when I was growing up, Scar, and I can recall talking to my grandfather, and he said, in the 20th century, in the first half of the 20th century, it was baseball, it was horse racing, and it was boxing, and then horse racing, and boxing, and baseball. Right now, it's football. 21st century, it is football number one, football number two, and football number three, if I had to rank them.
Yeah, it's just a great game for television, and we love it. Americans love we like our contact, our violence, and hitting, and and it is what it is, man. We like a little bit of that, mixing it up.
Yeah, we do. We enjoy it. Well, you mentioned this team earlier, Mike Loxley's Terps, and Michigan is going to have to play their final road game of the year at Maryland. And let's talk about them a little bit, Scar, and just what you make. You mentioned Talia Tagovailoa, and Michigan last year, for as well as Michigan did last year, and how they played that first Big Ten game, 34-27. It was a close game at the half, 17-13, and it ended up being a one-score game at the end. Blake Corum ran for 243 yards and a couple scores, put his name, further entrenched it there, but starting out the Big Ten. But now you've got the Terps with, bringing the Wolverines in on their turf. What do you make of this upcoming game?
Yeah, it's Mike Loxley is doing a good job, man. The word on Mike Loxley was always, well, he's a good recruiter. He worked at Illinois with Zucker. He's been around. He worked with a lot of good people, man. He had an opportunity at New Mexico, I think it was, or New Mexico State, and he had problems and got fired there. But this is his second opportunity, as a head coach, and he's doing, in my opinion, he's doing a good job. He's recruiting. He always talked about the Maryland guy. Always talks about recruiting the DMV, right? DC, Maryland, Virginia, and he's doing a good job. It used to be Michigan could go in there, Ohio State could go in there, a lot of guys could go in there, and and take Maryland kids, and it's not as easy as it was. So Loxley has elevated the talent at Maryland. I looked at their spring game. I was able to, what's great about the DVR, and I looked at everybody in the Big Ten East, and that was the last team I broke down. His talent level is up. He's getting better players on defense. Okay, that's one thing that early on in his tenure, he didn't have as many athletes on defense. So he has fired a lot of coaches since he's been there, and but he finds a way. He's got Kevin Sumlin now with him. Real good a guy who was a winner as a head coach at a couple of places. He's got our boy Josh Gaddis running his offense. Him and Sumlin are going to run the offense. So he's recruiting better. He's got a guy we know running the offense. He's got one of the best quarterbacks in the Big Ten. The big thing is, will he be healthy? Because he likes to run him so much. We got him game 11, and I looked at their backup. I don't know. Anyway, Josh Gaddis likes to, he's a trick play guy. But it's a lot of stuff similar to us, only he won't have all the tight ends in there. But there's a lot of similar stuff that we see with the Maryland offense. Okay, but you won't see all the 2 and 3 tight ends. Our offensive line will be better than theirs. I looked at all their offensive linemen. That's a position group. We have better players. We've recruited better, and we'll be better than them. There used to be a big, and I think our tight ends are better. They've got some good running backs. We couldn't tackle that kid last year. Littleton, you remember that big running back? Kid ran all over us. He trimmed down. He's back. They had another kid that was a good, they've got a good running back room. Our room is a little better, but those guys are not stiffs. Their defense is elevated the talent, though. There used to be a big discrepancy when I looked at our talent compared to theirs. They've got some good depth, and they've done a good job there, man. They ran the football on us last year, Denny, and that's not something that was good. So it's a game that will be a real tough game for us to win, a game that we have better players than them. It'll be a week before the Ohio State game, but Jim does a good job of getting these guys ready, day to day, week to week. That's kind of my breakdown. Loxley is doing a good job. I don't see any reason for him to be, on any type of hot seat. He's every year he's gotten a little better there, and the talent level is getting better since he's been there.
Now, I agree with all of that. And, Michigan had him as the Big Ten opener. And for the last few years, it feels like, I don't know exactly if it seemed like Ohio State was playing Maryland the game before Michigan. And Maryland was always giving Ohio State fits. Like they were in a dogfight right to the end. Even last year, Maryland played pretty well against Ohio State. Ohio State ended up, beating them pretty good. But, they were making some plays on them. From the college football news, I took a little bit of what they had to say about the Terps. They lose a lot of players to the pros, but then they got a wide receiver from FIU, and then they got another one from West Virginia, and they got Jason Jones coming back at a nice tight end. So offensively, they've got a lot going on with their pass catchers. And then you mentioned the running back Roman Hemby was a
good player.
Heck of a player. Then you mentioned Littleton. So that's a good 1-2 punch And then Talia, the prediction from College Football News is that this year he should be closer to 26 touchdowns. Thinking about that he's going to progress, as a QB. And it was, I don't know, a month or two ago that Stuart Mandel was in his mailbag, and he said, he thought that this was the year that the Terps either knock off Ohio State, Penn State, or Michigan.
Yeah, I would take that. I would take that bet. If someone gave me that bet, I would agree with that they would beat one of the three. I would take it.
Yeah, I don't like putting Michigan in any bets like that, but no,
well, they're going to get Penn State. They're good though. The guy's good, man. If Leah stays healthy, that is a talented football team, man. They got better players than Michigan State. I think they do. I think they all. I think he's done a better job recruiting. Mike Loxley can turn it on. He can turn the charm on, man. He can recruit. So and Gaddis can recruit. He's got guys that can recruit.
Yeah, you're right. Even they're on their way there, and like Brian says, hopefully it's not going to be Michigan this year.
I agree. We just got to play like we play, but we saw the game last year, and there was nothing easy in that game, So, yeah. but hey, you got to play. We got a schedule. We can win every darn game. Just get ready to roll. Get your mind right. Develop depth and have a great game plan. You've heard Scar say it 1,000 times. The same stuff every week. Get your mind ready for the next game.
So Scar, there's so many days still with football and everything. What are you doing? You just concentrate. Do you break out 2 a days for yourself? I mean, you tell me that you still work out. You're working on some more explosive movements because that's even important now. Even after you get there, you're not in your college days anymore. So you're always looking to fine tune some things. Even when you're moving out. You're working out 2 times a day? What are you doing?
No, Danny, I'm just 3 days a week in the gym, man. Just trying to get, you got to get off the couch. Try to do a little running. I'm trying to do a little more running. Just keep moving. A little more running and stretching.
Stretching, yeah.
You got to do that. And let me just couple quick thoughts. I see we got Kobe and Jet predicted as first round draft choices.
That's right.
I've said this before. There's pretty much zero correlation between high draft picks and winning championships. So we gotta get, maybe this will be the year. I mean, maybe the theory, and I've always said this, I've heard Bill Self say it the first time. The key to winning in college basketball is getting old and staying old. Well, we're going to have an old team. We're going to have a lot of guys that have been around, some transfers. Maybe Jawan is going to make it happen this year with a lot of guys that have been around, played in tough games, played it in tough crowds. So I just saw that, wanted to comment. I saw the 2 names on there, zero correlation between draft picks and winning championships.
Yeah, I guess I'll take your word for that. When I hear you say that, I think okay, but I also think you win with talent. Certainly you have to have coaching, but give me some lottery picks, and I think I could get them into the tournament. Maybe win a championship over a bunch of seniors that nobody gets picked, or even in the first or second round or anything else. Give me a couple lottery guys. I'll see how I do.
Okay. Give me a bunch of team guys that I don't know.
You want both.
What do UConn have? UConn have a bunch of, I don't know. They got any first round draft picks? They got a bunch of soldiers, man. Know your role, shut your hole. That's how you win, baby.
Okay. I'll buy it. I don't like going against, Scar. I don't like going against you talking about, you want team. I want guys that buy in to the team. That's right. I heard, they were breaking down the NBA finals, and they were talking about, actually it was Doc Rivers. I was just listening to him after the fact, after Denver won it. And he said, both of these coaches, they got all guys, all of them are buying in. Everybody knows their roles. Nobody is worried about anything else. They just got it. I mean, that's when you start making a run like that, you got buy-in. Rarely do you have guys that are going to be, disrupting things that are out there. You had 2 teams with a lot of buy-in, and you're going to need that wherever you're going to be if you're going to have success. If you're going to have the, 5 lottery picks, you better have guys that are buying in.
Yeah, you know, Danny, I've said this before. I've coached football and basketball, and that's one of the toughest things in basketball. In football, a kid knows, hey, I'm an offensive lineman. I'm not scoring touchdowns. That's what you are. But sometimes it's hard to get those kids in basketball to understand, look, man, I want you to defend, block shots, rebound. You're not much of a scorer. But every kid thinks he's a scorer. So that's that. You know, it's tougher to you know, to teach guys, hey, this is the role I need you in as a basketball player. But anyway, Michigan's a couple things going on too. Michigan's got those 3 camps. I'm contemplating going next Wednesday, but they got some kids up that they're looking at that aren't really on the radar so much. I talked about some of them. Guys that they're evaluating. They don't have offers now, but there's a lot of guys Michigan is like, okay, we're going to take a look. We're not ready to offer now, but they're going to be at these camps this week and next week. In fact, I think it's today. There's one today and there's one next week. Wednesday. The last one is Wednesday.
They're not taking any time off, man. They're working hard.
Oh, no. These guys are grind. They're earning all that big money, man. We see how much money they make, but they're going. There ain't no time. You know, this time of year for a college coach back in the day, June, July, there was no recruiting going on then. Now this is the key time for recruiting. So these guys are working.
I'm with you. The coach liked your line. Know your role and shut your hole.
The Rock, baby.
That's what The Rock says?
Great line, man. It's, you know, you got to, you know, that's it goes with coaching. You got to know what's my role, man. Fall in line, son.
I smell what Scar is cooking. Scar, great job. Always fun talking with you. Can't wait to talk with you again.
All right, Denny, go blue.
All right, take care. There he is, Jim Scarcelli. Amazing.